viewers, welcome to my channel Chai with Varu. Today let's dive into a very interesting segment, author interview, and learn the benefits of reading and writing. Welcome to my channel Chai with Varu. I like to start today's segment with a beautiful quote of Albert Einstein. Creativity is intelligence having fun. Yes, you got it right. In today's segment, we are going to be diving into a very interesting and interactive session with a very enterprising, talented, and very creative author, book writer, and my good friend and a school and college mate, Menaka Raman. Hi, Menaka.
Lakshmi.
So, actually, my friend Menaka, she is a former advertising copywriter who has written over 9 picture books for children, and her picture books and short fiction have been published by Pratham Books and Scholastic and Speaking Cup. She also writes a weekly parenting column for the New Indian Express and consults on communication strategy with organizations. Wow, Menaka, so happy to be reading it about you and so great to have you on my channel. Thank you. Some of our lovely books that my child loves to read always are Gappu Kandans. Even yesterday, Menaka, you won't believe my daughter was like, please read Gappu Kandans for me.
That makes me so.
Yeah, Gappu Kandans, I love me. Then it's Guess Amma, there's bat in my sambar. Oh, they're so fun to read actually. So I have some few questions which I thought would benefit the viewers about reading and writing.
Sure.
So I'd like to know what inspired you to start writing children's storybooks.
Wow. Um, I don't know what inspired me to start writing children's books, but I've always been writing throughout. I think for as long as I can remember, I've kept diaries and journals. I used to write essays and poems and things like that in school and in college. And like I said, I studied BSc Computer Science with you, and I didn't do anything with that degree. I think I realized in my first few weeks in college when we were doing the BSc degree together, I think I realized that first I don't want to do coding with my life because I was really bad at it. And I don't think I had any of the logical abilities that you need to kind of the logic and that, sequential,
I get you totally.
yeah. So, and then somehow, I got through college, and then I was thinking, well, what do I do next? And since I'd always liked writing, we had a good family friend who said, why don't you think of advertising and become a copywriter? So I said, okay, fine. So I don't think anything inspired me to become a picture book writer, but I just think there were various kind of choices I made along the way. Most of them by just saying, okay, let's give this a shot, which ultimately led me to joining a publishing house. Sometime in 2016, I think we had relocated to Bangalore, and I joined a non-profit children's book publishing house called Pratham Books. And I basically joined them to do communications and social media. But one of the editors there had been reading my parenting column for quite some time and said, why don't you try writing a picture book? Write a book for children, write a story for me. And I thought she was kidding. But so I said, okay, I'll write a story for you because I thought this was just some big, just a laugh between the two of us. And around the same time, this editor, her name is Bijal Vacharajani, when Bijal said, why don't you write this? I had a conversation with my very first boss in advertising. And I don't know why, but she told me the story of how in her house, bats would come in through the window and fly across the dining table when they had dinner sometimes. And
Wow.
and she said, and then we all have to cover our sambar and rice and all of that. So nothing happens. And for some reason, just that image of a big pot of sambar on a table and a bat flying around, I just found that visually very interesting and I thought it would be funny. And for fun, I wrote a rhyme. I wrote a poem called Amma, There's a Bat in My Sambar. When I read
Okay.
it to Bijal in office after it was done, she said, Chalo, I'll publish this. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah, I'll publish it. I
That's
really thought it was
fun.
joking. Yeah. And then actually, a few weeks later, I got an actual contract from Pratham Books to publish the book. And then I realized she was serious. And that was the start. And then after that, you know, I just really enjoyed that whole process of having this wacky idea and having this kind of crazy idea or a silly idea in your head, and then being able to translate that into a story, and then having an illustrator bring your words to life through
Right.
images and pictures, and then have that published as a book. So really, that's how it started. I don't know if anything ever inspired me, but yeah, I suppose the visual of a bat and a pot of sambar inspired me to become the
And
writer.
that's so cool, because that's where creativity is fun. That's why, it's so cool to read something like that. I just like to share some of your picture books that you have written, which are so interesting for my viewers. There, yeah, this Ira investigates the invisible about this microbiologist. Even that is so cool. It's so nice. It just teaches just don't give up. I just loved it. So yeah, these are some of Menaka's lovely picture books. You can find it on storyweaver.org.in. It's very nice and interesting. Any other book which you just wrote for fun or
I had a piece of nonfiction published in an anthology by Penguin, Penguin UK, and
oh,
that. So I think I had, and I had, yeah, that was there in the anthology in that collection. And then there was a fairly long gap where in between I was writing columns and that kind of thing. And I also had a fairly long break work-wise because I had two kids, so I wanted to take some time off for work. So really, Amma There's a Bat in My Sambar was the first actual picture book that I had
oh
written.
great, great. I read a lot of your parenting columns. They're oh so good. I could relate so many of them actually. You can just enjoy reading them. I love them
Yeah,
actually.
thank you.
What was the most surprising thing or things that you came across while in your writing journey?
Um, I think just what is the most surprising thing I've come across in my writing journey? That you never know where an idea is going to come from. And I think also the fact that I think the most surprising thing for me is to when I hear people come up and say, I really liked this in this book, or I really like, so Gappu Can't Dance, which is, it's, the idea was that it was going to be a book about a girl who wasn't a very good dancer, but who really loved to dance. And that was it.
Right.
That was kind of we worked with that, and then there's also opposites in the book and things like that. But I think I had quite a few teachers and educators write to me after the book came out saying, we're actually using this book in classrooms to talk to children about being more inclusive and to be inclusive of all kinds of children, and not to kind of,
Right.
exclude anyone for any reason. And I think I found that surprising because that wasn't I didn't set out to write a book about being inclusive. So I think the things that people take away from my stories and books, I think that's what I always find really surprising. Like you just said, Ira is it's a book about never giving up,
Yeah.
and you're right. It is a book because I think so much of it. I have a sister who's in research, and when I spoke to Dr. Savita, who is, who we interviewed before I wrote this book as well, so much of it is about really just hanging in there and trying and trying and trying until things work out. And
Yeah.
stuff is it's a book about what do microbiologists do. It's about STEM careers. So I think for me, it's surprising always what I set out to write and then what people take away from the book, which is a very personal thing to each reader, I think.
Yeah, that's very much required. Once when somebody reads a book, what they get and take away from that is very inspiring, very nice, actually. So, I mean, while you're writing, like when you develop characters in your story, do you already know who they are, or do you just, develop them as you write?
So I think it. Hmm. So I think there are two kinds. I think when you're doing, there are picture books where there's a limit on how many words the book can be. So I've told stories in 200 words, and then which is Gappu Kandans is less than 200 words easily, and then there's Ira, which is about 1,500 words long. So there's a little more time. And for example, so Ira is based a little bit on my sister. She's
Okay.
based, who's an academic scientist. She's based a little bit on Dr. Savita, who I met. So there's kind of bits of them which are in the character, and then of course Dr. Ira has to have her own personality as well.
Right,
Um,
right.
I think sometimes I have a fairly good idea of who the characters. I've spent a lot of time before I actually start writing. I spend a lot of time just thinking about the book and what's going to happen and who this person is and uh, what does she look like and what does she like to do or he like to do. And when I say I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about it when I'm walking my dog or, just generally when I'm swinging on a swing in the balcony. And it's not like I'm spending time, it's just things that keep coming. But over a period of time, that's a very long time actually spent just thinking like this. But having said that, I recently wrote a manuscript for a longer book, for a chapter book for children. And I think what surprised me in that is that sometimes characters kind of take on a life of their own as you write them. And as you're writing it out and you plot and you plan and you say, this is what's going to happen, and then this character will do this, somehow characters take on a life of their own when you write. And sometimes they'll do and say things that you don't expect them to do. And I think, and I used to read many authors who would say, in interviews would say that. And I would be like, how is that possible? I mean, this is your character, and you imagined this person, and they'll do and say what you tell them to do. And I think in this particular book that I wrote, I was just really surprised that, yeah, I mean, I didn't expect this person to do this or say that, maybe. So I think some level of plotting and character drawing and sketching and saying, oh, this is what they'll do and how they'll, it's all good. And then I think sometimes characters just do what they want.
Yeah, that sounds interesting actually. That develops one's own creativity to a very farther place actually. It is so good actually. Yeah. I can totally connect with that because as a blog writer, I know how it is actually, You just sit in a place and think, like for example, I'm watering my plants. Oh, I'll think, oh, I can write something about this plant. So I get it totally. Yeah. Can you throw some light on the importance of reading in kids? Because now that the pandemic situation going around, we want our kids to read not as a chore, but like, from their own interest. So,
How much time do you have, Varalakshmi? I can talk about this forever, about kids and reading. Um, Look, I think there is so much focus on wanting our children to read, right? And because it's good for them and it improves their academic performances, and reading is, and of course reading, you can't do there are so many things that reading opens up to you. I think the one thing I want to focus on is just reading for pleasure. And I think one key thing that parents should all remember is, yes, you must be able to read, to study, and to pass exams and to get degrees and all of that, and that's there. But I think when we want our children to read, we must want them to read for pleasure and for their own pleasure. And I think, and not look, and I'm on a lot of Facebook groups. There are some fantastic Facebook groups out there which are resources for parents. There's Reading Raccoons, Discovering Children's Literature, which has so many recommendations, so many books being shared over there. One thing I see a lot is, can anyone suggest a book which will help my children learn yoga? Can anyone suggest a book which will help my child learn good manners? Can anyone suggest a book where, so it's almost like we look at books as this just method of teaching children something all the time. And that's fine. Books do teach us. Absolutely. I
yeah,
learn
right. Yeah,
so much from the things I read, and I learn about historical things, I learn about cultures and communities and people and places. But I don't read books because I want to learn these things. I read books because they make me happy, because the act of reading is joyful. And I think parents need to remember that we must allow our children to read for pleasure. We
right.
must not look at books. What can they teach my child? Will it improve spelling and grammar and culture and values and all of that? No. Books, that's not. If a book that gives a child all of those things, that's great. But the primary purpose of reading is to read for pleasure and joy. So I would say allow your children to pick out what they want to read. Allow them to have choice. Take them to the library, take them to an independent bookstore near where you live, and let them buy what they like. Let them borrow what they want to. And whether that's Diary of a Wimpy Kid or Harry Potter or Tintin or whatever it may be, right? Let them read it. I think parents, I see so many parents in bookstores and libraries saying, why do you want to read that? That's so babyish. Or no, you should read this instead. Please butt out of your child's reading choices. It is between them and what they want to read. And just let your kids pick what they like. You know, when we say we want our children to read, our children will enjoy reading and will become engaged readers when they have a say in what they read. If we constantly force things on them, it will always be a chore. I'm reading this because mama told me to, not because
Right.
I want to read this. Your child will want to read a book when they have picked it out. And you know what? Maybe they'll pick up a book from the library and not like it, and that's okay as well. We just have to let our children read for pleasure and have a choice in their books. I think these are the two biggest things. And of course, the third thing is if you want your child to read, you must model reading behavior at home. You have to be seen reading. If we're all, if our kids see us on our phones looking at Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and they're going to think, yeah, so who are we to tell our children to read if we are not reading
So I
ourselves?
totally
And if we're
agree with
not.
you. As you're a writer, I like to get some tips that you could give it to the kids about writing stories on their own. Like any tips that you could share?
So I think again with reading, I would say the same thing as with writing. Allow. So I think if you're a kid and you're watching this, write what you want to write about. Whether it's you want to make a comic book, you want to make a graphic novel, you want to write diary entries, you want to write poetry, fantasy, whatever it is. Write what you like to write. Read a lot. I think if you want to be a good writer, you have to read a lot and read widely. You know. And I think enjoy writing, have fun with it. When you're young and you're a child, you can make up all sorts of fantastical stories, and no one can tell you that's not going to happen. And if anyone does tell you that, don't listen to them anyway. Write what you like writing, write what you enjoy, write what you might want to read yourself as a reader, and have fun with your writing. I think that's the one thing. You just should have fun with what you write. And I think for parents who would like their children to write more, same advice, but out. Let them write what they feel like writing. Don't give your children assignments and say, write about this, write about that. No. Let your children write what they feel like writing. And don't get all nitpicky with, oh, but why have you said this? Or your handwriting is bad here, or you spelled that wrong. That immediately kills the desire in the child to write because they will look at it as homework or an assignment or one more thing they have to do perfectly. Things like spelling and grammar and all of that they'll learn along the way. Keep that writer inside them alive by allowing them to write what they like and by appreciating their work, being supportive of their writing and giving them good feedback, honest feedback, but nice feedback at the same time because the kids um, maybe get them a really lovely notebook and a beautiful pen and let them write away in that. Of course, it's the digital age. Start a blog for your child and keep it private and share it with friends and family, and allow them to leave encouraging comments for your child. I think those are good ways to encourage children to write.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Because freedom is creativity. Obviously, it increases the creative power of a child. Definitely. Yeah, yeah, I agree. And what are your favorite books? Like you enjoy more, or any particular author that you enjoy reading a lot?
Wow. Um, who have I? So I think in children's books, in the space of children's writing right now, who have I enjoyed a lot? I really like picture books and middle grade fiction. I write a lot. I read a lot of what I want to write more of. So I've been reading lots and lots of non-fiction picture books recently, biographical picture books, a lot of them. I read R.J. Palacio. She wrote the book Wonder. She's written a new graphic novel called Whitebird, which I thought was absolutely outstanding. What else? I really enjoyed my former editor at Pratham Books, Bijal Vachirajani, her book A Cloud Called Bhura, which was about climate change and a group of very young, feisty tweens in Bombay and what they do about it. I really enjoyed that. Um, Picture books that I've recently enjoyed. There's a book called Home on Storyweaver, published by Pratham Books, by an author called Fausto. Um, Absolutely beautiful. It's about what it is like to be a refugee, and that was an absolutely gorgeous book that I also really enjoyed. Favorite authors? I wouldn't say. I think adult fiction. One of my favorite authors is Margaret Atwood. I really like
Oh,
her books a lot. Yeah, so I'm usually quite open to trying anything and everything. So I wouldn't say
oh,
I'm a favorite, but yeah, I read all kinds of things right now.
that's nice. That's nice. Yeah, Wonder is my son's favorite too. Yeah, he loves. What are your current projects right now? Do you
Current
like?
project. I've just finished writing a short story for an anthology of fiction for children.
Okay.
Uh, I have to send that in a couple of weeks. The deadline is looming, so I'm going to finish that up and send it off. That's quite it. All the stories in the anthology are centered around history and Bangalore's history in particular. That's going to be
Oh,
published by so I'm working on that. I will also start on a picture book project fairly soon. So I'm currently researching and making notes and reading up on the background before I start working on that. And then there are lots of other ideas. I have too many ideas. I have more ideas than I have the time to write them, I always say. So I've got
oh,
a few,
that
which,
still works. You know,
yeah.
more the ideas, more the creativity, and more you can write. Definitely.
So I have a little notebook where I write down all my ideas, and I know that someday at some point of time I'll get around to one of them or to all of them. I don't know. So yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. How long does it take to write any book, like any book of yours?
So sometimes I have deadlines. So usually, if I'm commissioned to write a picture book or I've signed a contract to write a picture book, I agree to a timeline with my editor. And so usually a first draft can take about 2 months. For a picture book, can take about 2 months, 2 to 3 months to research, to think about it, to write it, and then I'll keep editing and fiddling around with it. So usually that's how long it takes me to write a picture book or a short story, like the short story that I'm wrapping up now took me about 3 months to write. Um, Longer pieces, I took all of last year off, so I took a break from work for about a year to work on a chapter book, and that
Oh,
took me a year to finish. It probably took me a year because I was watching Netflix a lot when I should have been writing, but got a year to complete and my own draft of it. So that's how long that took. But yeah, so anywhere between 3 months to a year, really. But if you have a deadline, then you have to meet the deadline. Otherwise, your editor will be very angry with you.
yeah, that's so nice. I just loved interacting with you. It was so good. And thank you so much for your time and giving such valuable information. Thank you so much. Um, I hope we can have a read along series also sometime with you, my
Sure
viewers.
thing. Thank you for having me on your YouTube channel. I really enjoyed chatting with you, Varalakshmi, after so long. And yes, yeah, we can do some storytelling sometime.
Yes, sure, sure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Varalakshmi.
So, thank you, Menaka.
Thanks a
Bye.
lot. Varalakshmi.
If you like my video, please leave a comment below, like, share and subscribe to my channel Chai with Varu. Also, don't forget to push the notifications bell icon. See you again with another interesting video. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye.